Hi, my name is Rob, and today I will talk about bike lanes, legislation in Ontario which will remove the bike lanes. I have a previous video about that, and I will also talk about the climate conference, COP29, if there is time. And I'm just going to go onto my YouTube page so I can see any comments. I tend to go live on my YouTube on Sundays, and I'm recording this on Sunday. I did look at the committee, and I didn't see the transcripts for the last committee that talked about Bill 212, but I'll get into that shortly. And I'm just going to change my screens. So the first item that I'd like to talk about is a news article from the Trillium. Oh, am I? Yeah, I'm on the right screen. Called "The Ford Government Moves to Bar Lawsuits Over Injured, Killed Cyclists After Bike Lane Removals." This is absurd in my opinion that they would block lawsuits. But I'll read the article by Jack Holland and Aidan Shamdi from November 21st, 2024. And it's in the Trillium. And I've highlighted some of the text. So the Ford government, the article says, would block lawsuits that could otherwise arise should cyclists be injured or killed after protected bike lanes are removed. And I will state that the government ought to know that people will die if protected bike lanes are removed. People have testified that they've been at demonstrations saying that. I've talked to um, some of the some of the people in the industry who have been saying that, and I've had an interview with the director of Bike regarding this last month, and that is on my YouTube page. And the article is saying that the government passed amendments to Bill 212, the Reducing Gridlock Saving You Time Act, and it actually doesn't save you time act. The government, it doesn't save you time. The government likes to do this with legislative titles, um, and yeah. Yeah. I was going to say the government made amendments after people spoke about the bill, which is very troubling to see. Some of the amendments said that those, and this is 11 pages of amendments. The amendment said that there's no lawsuit against the province and cabinet due to bike lane removals that the bill would prompt. So I'm just going to let that sink in. That's from the article. The proposed amendments, the article says, will exclude those individuals who fall victim to road violence from any potential lawsuit against the province, which would take away from any financial settlement or claim they could be entitled to. And this was from Melissa Dowry, the director of Bike Law Canada. And I might look up Bike Law Canada as well. And there's a quote that says, these amendments are acknowledging exactly what advocacy groups have been saying, that the removal of bike lanes will result in a drastic increase in serious injury and death on all roadways. Let's see. Bike Law Canada. I'm going to look that up. I'm looking that up. Bike Law Canada. I don't see the... Oh, bikelaw.com. I'm just seeing if they have any like articles. They have a blog. Oh, this is talking about. It's connected to the U.S., so it might not be applicable. But I'll look that up later on. And David Shulnut, the founder of Biking Loyal, in this article said, the government is trying to wash their hands of the blood that will be spilled as a result of removing bike lanes and throwing cyclists and other vulnerable road users back into traffic with fast-moving motor vehicles. And then the article says MVP Jennifer French said that this is a political decision and people are going to be killed. So I will switch articles, transition to the next article. And then the next article is from City News. NDP says Ford government bike lane ban lawsuits if cyclists injured or killed on streets where lanes removed. I said that there was like an 11-page amendment to Bill 212. Oh, and who's the spy? John Molsham. And then there's a quote from Jennifer Bell. This bill went into committee bad and it came out of committee worse. And I agree. I don't think I highlighted anything else from this article. So I will go to look at the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And this is my opinion. Oh, why doesn't it show? Okay. Yeah. So I believe that the amendments blocking people from suing the government is a violation of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, or could be. This has not been tested in court. Um, and which right is that? There's Section 7, which is everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. So, in my opinion, this violates the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The amendments that the public did not have a chance um, to comment on in committee, and the legislation will be voted on Monday. Um, Prior to this recording being made. Prior to this episode being posted. And um, very shortly after this recording has been submitted through the facilities of Trent Radio. I looked at the committees. There was a committee on the 18th and the 21st. But I do not see them. The transcripts. I tried looking for the transcripts, but I didn't. I simply did not see them. So, let me see. Okay. So instead, I found a report from the City of Toronto called Respecting Local Democracy and Cities Supplemental Report Impact of Bill 212 Bike Lanes Framework. And I will do my best to look at what's happening in committees for future episodes of Environmental Soup, and include some testimony because some of that is interesting, or it might interest you, and hopefully it does. So the report says there is a potential for decreased safety for people cycling and pedestrians. This is in the summary. There's also additional costs to identify, design, and construct alternative cycling routes, each with their own impacts and infrastructural challenges. And I'm not reading every single point because that might be too much. There would be increased travel times for drivers due to traffic congestion from additional construction that would be necessary to facilitate the removal of existing bike lanes. Restoring vehicle lanes on Bloor Street would also add Let's see. And in the past 10 years, 2015 to 2024, 28 people have been killed and 380 people. Sorry, I have a bit of a cough. Oh, and if you're listening on Sunday, feel free to comment. And that's on my YouTube page. And if you turn on notifications, you can see when I go live. 28 people have been killed just in Toronto, and 380 people have been seriously injured while cycling in the city of Toronto. 68% of these collisions took place on streets without safe cycling accommodations. It's not clear if the other areas included non-separated bike lanes, or if it's just separated bike lanes. That part wasn't quite clear. And Toronto's cycling network aims to improve access to safe bikeways for people of all ages and abilities so that they can safely move throughout Toronto. And I should mention that this legislation impacts all cities. Well, it's not clear which cities are impacted because not all the information for the regulations have been made public, which is problematic. So we don't know what is going to be impacted. Is it mainly just Toronto or all cities across the province? But we do know that Toronto will be impacted the most. We just don't know other municipalities yet. Although I would have to read if the regulations get passed on Monday as well. Yeah, and then there was a point made from this article, from this report, cycling. Many people in Toronto rely on cycling as an essential mode of travel, including in areas of the city currently underserved by safe cycling and pedestrian infrastructure. And separated bike lanes also mean that pedestrians are safer. If there's a barrier between the traffic and pedestrians and bikes. Because sometimes if there's no safe way to use traffic, people might go on to the sidewalks, and that could harm pedestrians because cyclists go at high rates of speed. And the absence of a bikeway has disproportionately negative impact on low-income communities, indigenous, black, and other communities of people of color. Oh, what item? Oh, oh, I don't know why my face disappeared on that one. Um, let's see. So I have 10 minutes left. Oh, and then it says research and experience has connected. Oh, has shown that connected and safe cycling networks is a key part of mitigating traffic congestion in a growing city. That's what the article is saying. And that has been backed up by a university. I thought I highlighted it. People, and then it says people that rely on motor vehicle traffic also benefit from bikeways when enough other people choose to leave their car at home. And small reductions in the number of vehicles on the road can produce large improvements of traffic flow. It talks about trips under 5 minutes, 5 kilometers. Half the car trips made by Toronto residents are under 5 kilometers in length. The report talks that it's challenging to build new bikeways. And then that more people might go by motor vehicle if they don't have a safe alternative. And what else did I highlight? Oh, and then bike lanes have improved safety, both real and perceived, from this article. And then people 9 times lower risk than a major street. Oh, there was a reduction in the risk when those separated bike lanes of injury by about 9 times lower. And and then prior to the installation, so this was before the bike lanes on Willow Street, between 2008 and 2015, there was an average of 20 injury collisions annually involving a person cycling. Collision data between 2017 and 2024 after the installation of bike lanes shows that, and this is from the report, that despite the 40 to 90% increase in cycling volume, the number of people cycling injured in collisions with motorized vehicles has fallen to an average of 15 injury collisions per year, representing a 56% reduction in collision rates. So more people cycling, but less injuries. And this was supported by the researchers from Toronto Metropolitan University. So I will switch topics. I will go look at COP29. Let's see. First, it is disappointing that COP29 happened at the location that it did, which was as Azerbaijan, because the leader they supported increased fossil fuels, and there is a documented genocide occurring in that country. So it is disappointing that a world event is happening there. And there's been controversy just with that location. And um, so COP29, this is a CBC article, agrees on $300 billion a year deal for developing countries to adapt to climate change. And this is from the Associated Press. And that was the title, and that was what was agreed to. But it wasn't close to people asking to, and no, I use the global south instead of developing countries. But yeah, I know people have different terminology. It's not near the full amount, but it was 3 times the 100 billion a year agreement from 2009. So they asked for 1.3 trillion, but they only got 300 billion. So less than half, which is not that good. And the world is already at 1.3 degrees Celsius, and carbon emissions keep rising. And that's from the article. And as a reminder, the Paris Agreement was for 1.5 degrees Celsius before irreversible impacts of climate change start occurring. Or we want to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. And the bike lane situation in Ontario will also make things worse. So another article is from Le Monde. And this article is called At COP29, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Russia, Egypt, and the Vatican oppose gender equality measures by Audrey Garlick. And the transphobia is impacting climate legislation. Transphobia and misogyny at the global level. Even though it is women that are disproportionately impacted, also the article points out that from the article, only 8 of the 78 heads of state and government in the traditional office photo are women. And at COP28 in Dubai in 2023, women made up just 19% of delegation heads and 34% of national delegations. And these countries were successful in removing references they've opposed references to gender because they oppose people people's identities. And they succeeded in removing references to women in all of their diversity and intersectionality. And this is from the article, the recognition that gender interacts with other elements of identity, such as ethnicity, to aggravate discrimination. References to human rights, fighting violence against women, and supporting women human rights activists have also disappeared. And then a majority of the references to gender were retained due to pressure from the European Union and Latin American countries. The article says, but it is important to recognize that gender and intersectionality all important in all talks, but especially the climate, or not especially, but including the climate conversation, because women, transgender individuals, and non-binary people, and women, transgender women or women, I should say that, they are disproportionately impacted from the negative impacts of climate change. So I'll leave that here. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be back next week.